What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Streckbein, live on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. And I promised everybody weeks ago, months ago, what felt like decades ago, that the day that Aaron Rodgers signed, I would do an emergency podcast discussing the signing and everything that comes with it. And I woke up this morning, packed my bags for my brother's wedding, started to get the truck and everything ready to go. I organized my suitcase. I did some work, chatted with some friends, and at no point planned to do a podcast earlier than 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is 3:31. And just like that, the Pittsburgh Steelers have their quarterback. Aaron Rodgers, for those of you who have not seen, is headed to the city of Pittsburgh on Friday morning to sign a deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers, a one-year deal, and he will be there at the beginning of mandatory minicamp. A day we have waited months for. News we thought at times was never going to happen. A situation that I think at this point has some tiresome, worried, excited, and also a little bit pissed off in the fan base. But it is a day that the Pittsburgh Steelers have believed is going to happen, have held strong to their confidence that they will add Aaron Rodgers at some point this summer, and that has finally come today as the 41-year-old four-time MVP joins the Pittsburgh Steelers, becomes their starting quarterback, answers a boatload of questions, opens up many more, and ends what has been a century-long saga. At least that's what it's felt like for Steelers Nation. Let's talk about it. Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers have been in constant communication throughout this entire process. Aaron Rodgers has relayed the direct message to Pittsburgh over the last 3 months of what was happening in his personal life, how he was going to handle that, how nothing else mattered outside of that for the time being. Things started to look in a positive direction when it came to Aaron Rodgers and things happening outside of football. It seemed as if everything was going to be in a place, or was getting to a place where it was calm, acceptable for him to focus elsewhere, and for him to once again join a football team and give his full commitment to one at 41 years old. He waited through OTAs. The saga continued when he went on the Pat McAfee show, then on the Joe Rogan podcast, and then on Mike the Stud's podcast, answering questions and hinting at the Pittsburgh Steelers and giving us some insight here and some insight there, but overall nothing that said guaranteed he was going to end up in Pittsburgh. You just kind of had to trust what everybody was saying. What everyone has told me for most of the time was that it was going to happen right around training camp. And I myself even grew skeptical that that was going to happen, because as we inched closer to minicamp and I watched more of Mason Rudolph, I started to think there is a chance that Aaron Rodgers does not show up and that the Pittsburgh Steelers are rocking with Mason Rudolph and whatever comes next. And it felt as if the pressure was starting to grow. Art Rooney has sent multiple messages. Mike Tomlin has made his message clear that just trust the process. It's going to be just fine. And Omar Khan gave us the backup plan, which is another veteran if Aaron Rodgers doesn't sign. But I still remember these words as Omar Khan was walking out of a press conference at the NFL owners meetings. He looked at a lot of us and he said, "We're still talking. We talk every day. We just don't know when it's going to happen." Well, the talking every day was good. Aaron Rodgers is in a place right now where he feels he can give 100% of himself to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He plans to. He'll be here. He will leave Malibu, and the Pittsburgh Steelers get a 4-time MVP quarterback, a guy that they have been waiting forever for, it seems like. However, there are a ton of questions when you look at Aaron Rodgers, what it means to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and where they go from here. Now, four-time MVP, 41-year-old quarterback, a guy with so much knowledge, so much experience, so many wins in the NFL, a dude who has a ton of success playing at the highest level, will go down as one of the greatest passers of all time. Is he still there? Or where we sit today, is he a guy that is going to bring the Pittsburgh Steelers down? He won 5 games last season. He's 2 years removed from an Achilles tendon tear, a quarterback that did not look the same last year as he's looked in years past. But even in years past, he was going downhill instead of uphill at this point in the season. What does he bring for the Pittsburgh Steelers? My prediction is this. For one, there is no situation right now where Mason Rudolph is still the starting quarterback. Aaron Rodgers immediately steps into that role. He did not sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers to be a backup. Maybe there's some sort of quote unquote competition, but the Pittsburgh Steelers are only doing that because Aaron didn't show up at OTAs, and they're going to have to put on some sort of show so that they don't look worse than they already do in this process. But at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers is going to be the Steelers starting quarterback in 2025. He signs a 1-year deal. So this is a 1-year bridge quarterback, get us to 2026, get us to a place where we could draft a quarterback. And in the meantime, we try to win a Super Bowl. It's a plan that works because you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and guys like TJ Watt and Cam Hayward and Minkah Fitzpatrick. You cannot negotiate with TJ and say, hey, dude, come on, we're going to give you a boatload of money, but our team's not going to be very good. No, this is an attempt to say, look, we're still fighting for a Super Bowl. We understand next year we have to get our franchise quarterback, but for right now, we need to win some games. We need to stay competitive. We need to stay a contender, and the way we're going to do that is Aaron Rodgers. Makes a ton of sense. It does. At the end of the day, whether you like him or you don't, Aaron Rodgers is the Pittsburgh Steelers' best option to try and win this season. He's not a guarantee to be a winning quarterback in 2025, but he's their best option to do so, and the Steelers are well aware of that. Obviously, Mason takes his high horse to number 2 on the depth chart, which is a bit of a bummer, to be honest. I'm not a fan of Mason continuing to get screwed over by the Pittsburgh Steelers, but he is, and this is going to happen again. And maybe the Steelers do open it up to some sort of pole position competition. But it's going to be Aaron Rodgers' job in 2025. What does it change? I don't think it changes much. I don't think you look at the offense and it's played any differently. I think Arthur Smith is building an offense that works for Aaron Rodgers and Mason Rudolph, and could work with almost any quarterback. An offense that relies on the running game truly and the short-term passing game with guys like DK Metcalf and Calvin Austin and Roman Wilson. Let your playmakers make plays while your other guys who maybe aren't as good anymore, aka Aaron Rodgers, just doesn't lose football games, which Aaron has been known to not lose football games. Don't get me wrong, he's lost a couple, but in the grand scheme of things, a 41-year-old 4-time MVP is not a guy that you're looking at going, he's going to be the reason we stink. He's going to be the sole reason we stink. I have a hard time believing that. He becomes your starting quarterback in 2025. I don't think the offense changes much. What does the deal look like? What does the future look like for the Pittsburgh Steelers? That's the bigger question here, because people will ask questions constantly of, well, what if Aaron Rodgers is good? If Aaron Rodgers is good, great. Well, what if the Steelers make it to the playoffs and they win a playoff game, but then they're sitting at a weird spot? I don't think it hurts them much. The Kansas City Chiefs picked at 30 and moved up to 10 to get Patrick Mahomes. They gave up 1 first-round pick in the process. The Pittsburgh Steelers are willing to give up more than that, and they're going to be very comfortable giving up more than that for the quarterback that they believe will be the next franchise or get a shot to be the next franchise quarterback of their organization. They're very much so okay with giving a hefty price tag up to go get that. Aaron Rodgers, if the Steelers look phenomenal and on the verge of a Super Bowl and he says, I got one more year left in him, yeah, the Steelers would bring him back. And they would still try to go get that quarterback, and nothing would change. The only thing that would change is that that quarterback got a year to learn from Aaron Rodgers, which I think is significant and I think would work. But that's not the Steelers' plan. The Steelers' plan is to have Aaron Rodgers for 2025, to move on from Aaron Rodgers after 2025, to draft a quarterback, to throw him into the fire, and to see what happens next. That's what their plan is. Aaron is simply here for 2025 to say, we need a quarterback, which is why Justin Fields wouldn't stick around, is because the Pittsburgh Steelers wanted a quarterback this year, but not next. Aaron's the guy for that. Nobody else was. What does it mean for, really, the fan base, the players, the coaches, who takes the heat if they stink? All questions that people will ask. I'm very interested to see what Aaron Rodgers and the reaction he gets come Latrobe, because you sit around and you play games with a fan base for this long, a fan base that is this passionate and this excited about a season year after year after year, who is this aggravated that they have had to wait as long as they had for a quarterback answer. I'm interested to see if it's a warm welcome, if signing and showing up to training camp is enough of a time frame where you have a significant gap, a deep enough gap to where you could say, we're over that stuff. We're excited that he's here. Come training camp, everything's okay. Personally, I think that that's going to be the case. I think that come training camp, everybody at this point will say, okay, look, it wasn't fun, but this is our quarterback. This is the quarterback we need to rely on in 2025. And we have to see what happens, because nobody was excited when Mitch Trubisky signed. Half the people weren't excited when Kenny Pickett got drafted. And there were very mixed reviews on Russell Wilson at the time. But everybody hunkered down, looked at it and said, look, we got to win. And this is our quarterback, and our quarterback needs us to root for him. And I would imagine that's the case. My timeline was minicamp. If the Pittsburgh Steelers did not sign Aaron Rodgers by the time minicamp was over, it would have set a timeline in motion where the fans, nobody has that time to get over the nonsense, the saga that Aaron Rodgers has put the Pittsburgh Steelers through. That is everything that was on my mind and worried me going into this. But he signed before minicamp, which means you get 3 days to see Aaron Rodgers. Then you get a break. DK Metcalf will be there. Calvin Austin will be there. Pat Freiermuth will be there. The offensive line will be there. Arthur Smith will be there. Everybody will be there, probably except for TJ Watt. Nobody that Aaron should be throwing the football to outside of Calvin and Roman has been there this entire time. DK has not been at the Pittsburgh Steelers facility, which means he does not get those extra reps with DK. He wouldn't have gotten those extra reps with DK. And then whose fault is it if this all goes terribly? Because that is a massive question. Is whose fault is it if it all goes wrong? And to be honest with you, it is, without question, Mike Tomlin's fault if this thing goes wrong. Because the Pittsburgh Steelers have a roster that looks good. They have a team that on paper should contend. They have a quarterback and a quarterback situation that Mike Tomlin has messed up multiple times. He drafted Kenny Pickett, signed Mitch Trubisky. Neither of those worked out. He went Russ over Justin, and that didn't work out. Now he's hunkering himself down and saying, Aaron Rodgers is my guy, and we need Aaron Rodgers to succeed. We passed on Shedeur Sanders, who Mike Tomlin wanted but convinced himself not to. They passed on Jalen Milroe. They passed on Sam Darnold. They passed on Russell Wilson again. They passed on names like Joe Flacco and Jameis Winston, and they said, Aaron Rodgers is our guy. He's the guy we need. Mike Tomlin has been the reason that they've stuck it out this long. And where we sit today, Mike Tomlin's back is against the wall. He's never felt pressure like he's felt right now. Not that there's pressure from the inside. The Steelers, Art Rooney and Mike Tomlin are closer than they've ever been, according to numerous sources inside Pittsburgh. But The fan base is louder than they've ever been. And because of that, Art Rooney's listening and Omar Khan's listening. And these people hear this. They hear how upset the fan base is. And if this goes wrong, real wrong, there's a conversation to be had about if the seat gets warm for Mike Tomlin. Does he get fired over this? It would have to be disastrous. Disastrous. And it would have to be clearly Mike Tomlin's fault that it is continuing to be disastrous. But if it is just normal bad, I think the pressure grows, the seat gets a little warm for the first time, and the Steelers are faced, as their head coach adds a new quarterback in the 2026 NFL draft class, a situation where it needs to work out. It can't almost work out. There's no more leeway for any of that. It needs to work out. Guarantee, no questions asked. That's how Mike Tomlin has to view this situation. Because if it goes wrong, it goes wrong fast. It goes wrong fast. All right. Aaron Rodgers is the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback. I'll give you guys a little bit of a rundown of, and I have plans to share much more with you when the time is right. When I have the permission to share with you guys how all of this happened and what was going on and some insight from both sides, because I have some of that, then I will. I've promised it throughout this entire situation, and here we are today. Again, I have said it for weeks. You guys have called me out on it a couple of times that I just know something that Aaron Rodgers is going to sign by training or by minicamp. And I even talked myself into maybe he's not coming, which means that this situation is wild. And we're going to see what happens. All right. Everybody start tossing questions in the chat. I appreciate all you guys for jumping on to an early Aaron Rodgers edition of signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I am thrilled that it has happened. I'm curious to know at the same time if the fan base is as upset as they may seem, or if this is finally calming nerves and allowing everybody to just say, okay, now we could settle into a 2025 roster. Now we could say season begins. Let's see what happens. And the season's a good one. I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers get a straight revenge tour for Aaron Rodgers. The New York Jets at the New York Jets in week 1, at the Steelers when the Seahawks come in week 2 for DK Metcalf. The Vikings in week 4, who were the team that teased Aaron Rodgers this entire time. Steelers at Bears, because everybody knows Aaron Rodgers owns the city of Chicago. And in week 16, the Lions. Plus, week 8, the Green Bay Packers are coming to town. And Aaron Rodgers may get one more shot at his former team. I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say. Start tossing comments in the chat. I'm going to sift through them as we go. But first, I got a quick word here from our boys over at Factor. Summer is here. More sun, more light, more time to do all the things that make summer so special. And the number one thing you don't want to be doing all summer, spending hours cooking inside. That's where Factor comes in. Factor's chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals are ready in just 2 minutes, taking the hassle out of eating well. Factor meals arrive fresh and ready to eat, perfect for any active lifestyle over summer and beyond. With 45 menu options, you can pick gourmet meals that fit your summer gains and goals. Choose from options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, Keto, and more. Factor powers your day sun up to sundown with nutritious breakfasts, on-the-go lunches, premium dinners, and guilt-free snacks and desserts. Factor has your whole day covered. Enjoy more this summer. Get Factor if you want all the flavor and none of the fuss. On a day like today where I'm running around like crazy, Aaron Rodgers is signing. Guess what I'm eating tonight? Factor meals, no doubt about it. Get started at factormeals.com/allsteelerstalk, 50 off, and use code allsteelerstalk 50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code allsteelerstalk 50 off at factormeals.com/allsteelerstalk 50 off for 50% off plus free shipping. Factormeals.com/allsteelerstalk 50 off. All right. Start tossing questions in the chat. Shout out to our members. Shout out to our super chatters. I am pumped to start asking these. Let's get into it. Carl Spackler kicking us off here. For me personally, Rodgers is the missing piece. Tomlin can't pull his BS on offense, and TJ doesn't need to be the hero. I think NFC chip or better. What a bold prediction from Carl Spackler here. I don't know. I'll say this. I'll tell you it from the Steelers side of things. The Steelers have made it very known throughout this entire process to Aaron Rodgers that Aaron is not going to come into Pittsburgh and be the saving grace, the savior of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Instead, he is coming here to be the piece that they believe is the right quarterback fit. That's how they have made this known the entire time. That has been their direct message to Aaron Rodgers is you are not here to play God. You are here to just come in and be our quarterback. And Aaron has respected the hell out of that from start to finish because he looked at New York and said, I need to be the hero of the New York Jets. In Pittsburgh, that's not going to be the case. I do think Aaron Rodgers is and remains your best option to go on a run, an AFC championship run. Do I think it happens? I think it's too early to tell. But I think if you were looking at all the options and all of the options that the Steelers realistically had by the time they were chasing Aaron Rodgers, the options, the top of it is Aaron Rodgers. And I don't know what the gap is to number 2, but depending on who it is, and if it's Mason Rudolph, I think it's a little deep before you get to that next step. So I think Aaron is, I don't want to say the missing piece, but the right quarterback fit for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I agree with you. And TJ doesn't need to be the hero. I also agree with that one. The defense and the running game are going to win this team games, but they can't bank on TJ Watt and Aaron Rodgers to win them games. They have to look at it and say the offense has to win through the ground with Aaron Rodgers being able to be Aaron Rodgers in a small capacity, which is what they're going to ask. The defense just has to be good, and they got the pieces to be good. AFC championship or better. I love the bold prediction. We'll see what happens. Terry, how many more weapons do the Steelers need besides Gabe Davis? I think Gabe Davis is the final piece, if that's the missing piece. The Steelers need one more wide receiver. I trust Calvin Austin. I trust Roman Wilson. I trust Pat Freiermuth. I even trust Kenny Gainwell and Jalen Warren and Caleb Johnson to be help out of the backfield. And hopefully Darnell Washington continues to develop. I think they need one more wide receiver. That wide receiver most likely is going to be Gabe Davis. That would be my guess. Do I know that for certain? No. Do I have a backup plan? I don't think I do right now. I think the Steelers would wait a couple of weeks and see who's available come the beginning of training camp to make a move if Gabe Davis isn't the guy. Gabe came to Pittsburgh today. He was in the facility today. He left without a contract. So take that as you will. I don't know what it means right now. I wouldn't rule it out, but it's definitely not a good early sign for the Steelers. Artisanal Bully Kennel, to be honest with you, you get in a jersey or what? Be honest with us, it says. You get in a jersey or what? Not an Aaron Rodgers jersey. I don't own any Steelers jerseys anymore, actually. The last one I bought was Antonio Brown, and well, I took it as a sign that I shouldn't buy anymore. That's what I did there. I don't know if I'll be getting an Aaron Rodgers jersey. If everybody wants an Aaron Rodgers jersey, though, if everybody's real hung up on A-Rod, maybe we do an Aaron Rodgers jersey giveaway. Maybe that's what we do. We'll figure it out. That's exciting. We were going to do a Mason one. We were going to do a Will Howard one. We might as well do an Aaron Rodgers one. Appreciate you guys. Anybody who wants it, let's see the amount of people who actually want an Aaron Rodgers jersey. Soapy Nugget, what is the plan if Aaron wins us too many games to draft a quarterback but doesn't play good enough to win us a playoff game? If the Steelers are drafting 21, which is get to the playoffs but don't win a playoff game, that's where you'd pick just about. You could get up to the top 7. I think with ease, honestly. You're giving up 2 first-round picks, but you probably don't have to give up a ton more than that to get into the top 7, and that's how the Steelers view this, is there are enough quarterbacks next year where they feel early that they'll be able to get one at 7, 8, 9, 10, somewhere in that ballpark. And all they'd have to do is get from 25, let's say, 21, worst case 32, to the top 7, which is 2 first-round picks and change. If you're picking 32, maybe 2 first-round picks, a second and some change, but they're willing to give that up to go get their quarterback. They are 100% on board with, we're going to sell a little bit of the house next year, and we're going to go get our guy. And I think that's the way to go about it. They're not worried about losing this season because they understand that there's always a price for everything and that there will be teams who look at this and allow them to move up into the top 7. That's what they truly believe that. And I think it's very possible. I mean, I think the plan right now makes a ton of sense for the Steelers to try to win this season with the roster that they have. And then next year, dive into what they have to give up, how much they have to give up to go get a quarterback. But I don't think Aaron hurts them. I don't. And I don't think at any point the Steelers were thinking about tanking for a quarterback next season. Cody Silva, I'm good now that he signed, but he could have taken all of this time off anyway and saved us from the BS if he signed months ago. Glad, but F Rodgers. I agree with that. I think at the beginning it made a lot of sense. He was dealing with some personal stuff. He couldn't commit himself to a football team. I got it. I got all of it. You know, you don't want to do that for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But when it started to become a public circus of he's going on all these podcasts and talking and making appearances and so on and so forth, that's when it became, if you just sign and then don't show up to minicamp, everything's okay. Everything's fine. There are talking heads, but different talking heads. People are upset about different things. So I agree. I think that if he signed a month ago and then didn't show up until minicamp, things would have been fine. And there would have been a lot less noise. You would have got the people like the Joy Taylor who went on a rant the other day or the other week about how Aaron Rodgers isn't at minicamp, honestly acting as if he signed. Like, nobody cares that you're not at OTAs. It's truly like nobody cared at all that DK Metcalf didn't show up one time. Who cares? Who cares? He's DK Metcalf. He's done this. Chris Boswell's not there. He's done this. Ben Roethlisberger used to not show up. They've done this. They don't need OTAs. Minicamp, sure, fine. You want to be here just for the morale, just for the camaraderie? Awesome. But again, if he signed, there wouldn't be any serious issues. I agree with that. I think it takes a lot of the noise away if Aaron Rodgers doesn't sign or does sign about a month ago. Cody Silva, once again, I'll take a Deshaun Elliott jersey. That's hilarious. Deshaun Elliott's a dude, man. He looks like an absolute stud. Absolute stud. And I am shout out to Deshaun Elliott, man. What a guy. What a guy. Chris, Jets arguably have a better running back and wide receiver, and he still looked awful. What gives you confidence he'll be successful here with no offensive identity? I think plain and simple, the Jets organization as a whole last season is hard to compare to the Steelers. Like, it just is. Like, it's impossible to talk about what the Jets were last year and not say they didn't have a head coach. They fired their offensive coordinator. Their owner pretty much ruined the entire franchise in a single season, and then say, well, they had a better wide receiver core. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just think the argument has to be, if you're going to lay out one side of the argument, you have to lay out the whole thing. The Steelers are a much more put together organization. I do think that New York had better options, but I also don't think they had an offensive coordinator. I don't think they had a better running game. I don't think Breece Hall, on paper, sure. When we're talking about his actual ability, I think Jaylen Warren is pretty close. And I think Caleb Johnson's going to end up being better. I do. And maybe that's a hot take on my end, but that's truly how I feel. I don't think he has as good of a tight end group. And I also don't think his offensive line was any better than it would get in Pittsburgh. And I hope Pittsburgh takes a step forward. So when it all comes down to it, it's just about presenting both sides of the argument. And both sides of the argument tell me that the Steelers are much less of a head case than the New York Jets were. And there's much less drama here than in New York. And that should help. For sure, that should help. I mean, the Steelers have won games in wild situations. The Jets won 5 in a wild situation. And while Rodgers didn't help them win more, he certainly wasn't the only reason that they won 5 games. He certainly wasn't the only reason. So I think it goes both ways. I think stability is going to help a lot. But again, I just look at it as I don't know where the Steelers are going to end up. I do think they end up winning 9 games at least because that's what they do every single season. If Aaron is the guy that gets you any further than that, I don't think I could tell right now. I don't think I'd be able to tell until training camp, and even deeper than that, maybe. But I do think that he gives you your best opportunity of all their choices. Realish, what QB should the Steelers take next year? Realistically, Gus Newsomer and Garrett and Drew Allen are going to be the guys that are sitting there near 7, 8, 9, 10, because I think what's his name out of South Carolina is going to go number 1. I think that's what's going to happen there. I don't think Nico, never going to try to pronounce his last name, out of UCLA, used to play for Tennessee, is going to end up coming out for the NFL draft. And I think he slides if he does. The Steelers should try to get as high as they possibly can. I think Newsomer is a name to watch. I think Drew Aller is a name to watch. I'm not super impressed with either of them. I think both of them have holes. Newsomer is my guy of the two, but those two would be my names to watch for the Pittsburgh Steelers early, for sure. For sure. All right. Keeping them trucking here as I get through the super chatters and scan the rest of you guys. What's the next Asada Burrito? What's the next thing we can obsess over, or what's the next week can obsess over next? We're going to see, man. We're going to see. I would say it's wide receiver, if you ask me, where the Pittsburgh Steelers need to go next. But if the Pittsburgh Steelers get Gabe Davis over the next couple of days, which I would not rule out, I think the Steelers are pretty set and a very boring football team heading into minicamp and again OTAs. Pittsburgh Hornets, what would you tell Rodgers is a must to try in Pittsburgh during the next year? Great question. Great. I think everybody's got to try Permanis, but I think once you live here, you don't want to eat Permanis anymore. Pamela's is the same way. Dude, I'd send him to Kelly's Diner in Wilkinsburg, and I'd say that's where you got to go, brother. Ask for the sausage and gravy with some eggs on the side and some crispy bacon. That's where I'd send him. Kelly's Diner in Wilkinsburg. Tell them Noah sent you. They'll have no idea who that is, but it'll sound cool coming out of your mouth. For sure. For sure. A lot of people who think that Aaron Rodgers is not a better option than Mason Rudolph. My argument to that one is very simple. Mason Rudolph might have a little bit more potential. But I don't think that it's enough to reach much higher than what he is right now. And Aaron Rodgers at a bare minimum is probably better than that. Again, we could see it on the field, but Mason didn't look great last season in a bad situation. Aaron didn't look great last year in a bad situation. Both of them looked fine the last time they played outside of a bad situation. So if that's what we're judging off of, I just think it's even ground that Aaron holds the upper hand to. Shout out Knock, gifting 5 All Steelers Talk memberships. Appreciate you, my guy. What a day. What a day. Hoser, what's the application process for joining All Steelers Talk? Appreciate you, my man. We do not have any openings, unfortunately, but I appreciate everybody who does continue to reach out. I get a dozen emails all the time, probably a week, of people saying, hey, how do I come on? And I appreciate all you guys. Just a small running company here. This is all we're doing. And we're jumping on podcasts and talking about Aaron Rodgers. So I appreciate you guys for sure. For sure. All right. Keep it trucking here. Dude, just a lot of people telling Aaron Rodgers to retire in the chat. But all right, let's keep it going here. Is AR compatible with Arthur Smith's scheme? Yeah, I believe so. I do. I truly do. I believe Arthur Smith is a guy capable of formulating an offense around his quarterback. Last year, I don't think he was able to do that because he didn't know who his quarterback was going to be for weeks at a time, months at a time. I think this is going to be different. You have all summer to work with Aaron Rodgers. You have training camp to work with Aaron Rodgers. I doubt Aaron Rodgers is going to be pushing a sled day one of mini camp or of training camp next year. There's no chance they're putting him on that thing. So he's going to be there learning the offense, adjusting to Arthur Smith. And I think Arthur Smith is intelligent enough to build an offense around Aaron Rodgers, designed for the running game, built to help Aaron Rodgers in the passing game, and then fine tune it to fit both of them. Pittsburgh Hornets, do you think that we will see TJ signed in the next 5 days? I wouldn't rule it out. I don't think it's close, though. I don't think the two sides are super close on a deal. I think they were negotiating TJ during Aaron, and nothing really changed. So and Aaron's contract offer with the Steelers has been the same the entire time. So I don't think that it's holding them back necessarily. I do think that it gives them a little pep in their step because you sign Aaron Rodgers. Now you need TJ Watt extended before you could start signing other people and doing other things. You have no cap space available after this signing of Aaron Rodgers. So you need something. You need something for sure. I think there's a sense of urgency. I don't know if TJ is gonna sign in the next week, but I do think the Steelers are a little bit with a fire lit under them trying to get it done. Eli, what number is he going to wear? Doesn't seem like Terry Bradshaw is going to want to give him number 12. That's hilarious. Terry Bradshaw in no lifetime would give Aaron Rodgers number 12. I want to guess it's going to be 8. I think that's the easy guess. There is no number 8 right now. Maybe he wants to get away from 8 after some runs in New York, and maybe he goes, I don't even know. 10 isn't available. 11 isn't available. It'd be very interesting. My guess would be 8. 8's such an ugly number, but my guess would be number 8. Would you rather have Russell Wilson, Mason Rudolph, Justin Fields, or Aaron Rodgers? This season, I'd rather have Justin Fields, but Aaron Rodgers is my number 2 on this list and remains my number 2 on this list. So I would say of the guys going into it, it would have been Justin Fields. Where they're at now, I think it's Aaron Rodgers. Yinzer Joe, if TJ doesn't sign, is it a possibility they trade him for a pick and a wide receiver? Definitely is a possibility. I just find it so hard. It's just like the rest of this. Like things are complicated right now, but the outcome for the Steelers and TJ Watt is all expected to be they're signing him. There is no expectation at all in the Steelers building that they aren't going to sign TJ Watt. So to me, it's yes. The answer to this is yes. There is a possibility if they are just somehow unable to get a deal done. But I am fairly certain the Steelers are going to ink TJ Watt to a contract. I'm fairly certain that number is going to beat Myles Garrett, and I think everybody's going to be fine and dandy by the end of it. That's how I view this. And I have been told absolutely nothing less over the last 2-3 months about the TJ Watt, peace, I'm out of here situation in Pittsburgh. It's going to happen, and it's going to happen to the price tag that everybody expects it to happen at. If something for some reason turned completely sideways, okay. But I don't think that's going to happen. William, is this the craziest this offseason has been since the AB trade? Maybe. Definitely maybe. I mean, this is an offseason where you've traded a wide receiver, traded for a wide receiver, added a new running back, let your starting quarterback, both of them, your starting running back, your starting wide receiver, your starting defensive tackle, your starting corner, all go. And then have replaced a bunch of them with big names across the board and then waited it out with Aaron. That's what makes it crazy offseason so crazy is you need the icing on the cake, the topper. And Aaron Rodgers was the topper, the big waboom. And AB was that a couple of years ago. Now it's Aaron. So yeah, I would say yes. I would say yes. A lot of people who are done watching football because of Aaron Rodgers. Dom, what's the difference between Old Man Rodgers and Big Ben? I don't really know, to be honest with you. What made Ben special was not his ability on the field anymore. It was still great, but it was the fact that he could sit there and say, this is exactly what we need to play and do and draw up, and he was able to get it done with anybody on the field. So I don't know if Aaron could do that. I need to learn more about Aaron. I need to see more of Aaron in real life. Will he have that same instinct, that same ability as a pro? We'll see what happens. But right now, I can't tell you the difference. On the field, I mean, they're both Hall of Famers, first ballot Hall of Famers, 2 of the top 5, maybe, quarterbacks of their generation. I think that's pretty impressive. I do think that's pretty impressive. Maddie, how will signing Aaron Rodgers impact signing a wide receiver? Oh, that's a good question. I don't think it does much of anything. Nothing the Steelers have done this offseason has really been reflective of Aaron Rodgers. They haven't really made moves around Aaron Rodgers. They haven't done anything to say we're going to cater to him. Now, maybe he comes in here and he says, I want Allen Lazard, and they say, that makes sense. You're our starting quarterback now. Maybe he says, I want Gabe Davis. Awesome. But I don't think in the grand scheme of anything, if they're serious about getting Jonnu Smith or serious about getting Trey Palmer, that they're going to say, hold up, wait, Aaron might not be so in love with this move. I don't think it changes anything there, but I do think the sense of urgency is there. Is definitely there. Noah Thomas, ESPN says planning on signing. Is this a done deal? It is. The Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers have agreed to terms. Aaron will fly to Pittsburgh tomorrow morning. He will sign a contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers, ironically, after the last day of organized team activities. And then he will show up on Tuesday to begin his work with Pittsburgh. But it is a done deal. Everything's agreed upon. He has informed them they're coming. He'll be here tomorrow morning to sign and get things going. Soapy Nugget, do you think there is beef between Aaron and Deshaun after Elliott said leave his ass in the retirement home? No, they're actually boys. They're buddies. That's just Deshaun, man. Deshaun Elliott is such a troll. He plays the bad guy. He loves it. But no, Deshaun and Aaron are boys. They've worked out at the same facilities before. They know each other. I don't know how long, but I do know they know each other. They're friendly. They're buddies. Deshaun was just playing with them. Just like I want to say it was the Allen Lazard situation where Deshaun told him, nah, the guy's trash. They're just pals. And Deshaun's just a giant troll. And it's so awesome. Like, that's why I love him. It's so awesome to watch. All right. Did Aaron go to Egypt? No, we did not go to Egypt this time. That's hilarious, though. Yinzer Joe, how did the Gabe Davis visit go? I haven't heard much about it. He left without a deal, which is, in my eyes, a negative sign. You don't want to let a guy like that out the door, especially a dude who's 26 years old, who's going to have more options as things heat up, and you're kind of running out of time. It didn't really make sense for me to not have a deal in place before he left, but they let him go. So we'll see what happens, but I don't think I take that as a positive sign. I'm not ruling out Gabe Davis, and this is all speculation because I haven't heard whether or not they do plan on signing him after the visit. Obviously, he left, Aaron signed. Things are crazy. But I wouldn't take that as the best sign with him leaving. The Dumpster Chickens. So what's the plan for wide receiver 2 and tight end? At tight end, it is definitely Pat Freiermuth and Darnell Washington and Connor Hayward. And then they maybe go after a tight end. But to be honest with you, I've heard Jonnu Smith's name is still not that serious. Kyle Pitt's name has been floated around, but nothing serious yet. I don't think they're all in on a tight end where we stand here today. I think they are all in on a wide receiver, just finding somebody somewhere. And then I think they're going to get somebody. A matter of who. I thought it was going to be Gabe Davis. Maybe it still is Gabe Davis, but we'll see what happens. Tight end wise, I don't think that where we stand today, they're very, very high on going to get a tight end immediately. That could change, and if the right opportunity presents itself, great. But just off the top of their heads, I don't think it's priority one on their list. I don't think it's priority one. Dumpster Chickens, once again, what percentage of Steelers fans changed their team in the last 10 minutes? A lot from this chat, for sure. For sure. Jeremy, how much impact will this have on Will Howard's development? I don't think any. I think if anything, it helps. Will Howard wasn't going to see the field this season. He was quarterback 3. Now he'll be quarterback 4. I mean, I don't look at having Aaron as a negative for Will Howard. I think it's a positive. I think having a guy who has helped develop guys in the past, who has a great relationship with his teammates, is going to go a long way. And I don't think Will is a guy that should be on the field right now. Learning behind him, learning behind Mason, even learning behind Skylar Thompson, if he's still on the roster by the season, I think helps a lot. For sure. A lot of people not happy about this situation, for sure. Can Rodgers push a sled? Oh, man, dude. R.I.P. Nick Belsky. Nick just texted me as we were doing this, and I'm gonna troll right here. This is what he sent me. If you could see it. And here we go. Nick's doing well. Hopefully he's watching. All right. Here it is. Realish Lenora Sellers. Thank you very much. Brain is all in a knot. You guys know me. I'm bad with names. There's nothing I'm worse at than some good old names. I mean, I got to give a best man speech in 48 hours, and I pray they're not watching this podcast. But every time I do the thing, I come up with 2 different names for my brother's soon-to-be in-laws. And I'm trying so hard. Maddie, do you think Will Howard will have a chance to compete next year after a year under Rodgers? I do. I do think Will Howard's going to have an opportunity to compete with whoever they bring in. It's obviously going to be a pole position battle, and Will's going to be the, prominent number 2, but he's going to get an opportunity to impress. The Steelers aren't going to rule him out. I think he's got a big mountain to climb to be good enough to get there, but I'm excited to see it happen. But yeah, the Steelers looked at Howard from the beginning and said, this is a guy that we could bring in and let him develop, and maybe in a year he's competition for the guy that we go and get in the first round. That's what their plan was this entire time. I think it's a great plan, and I think that's what they're going to do with him. Kate Klubnik is another one, could be there. I know a lot of people are saying Drew Aller stinks. I'm not a Drew Aller guy either, but I know the Steelers love their local guys, but Klubnik is another one for sure. Shout out Tony B, gifting 1 Steelers, all Steelers talk membership. Shout out. Appreciate you as always. Broderick, why did the show start before 4 p.m.? Because Aaron Rodgers signed, my friend. That is 100% why. I said it from the jump. Aaron Rodgers signs. We're doing an emergency podcast, and we are here. Keep them trucking here as we're rocking. A lot of Gabe Davis questions on if things are looking good. I don't know, to be honest. I heard Gabe Davis medical records ain't looking too good. That's what I think the issue is, because I look at Gabe Davis just like I look at, I don't even know who I would compare him to right now. Aaron Rodgers. Why would you let him in the building and then let him leave if you were pretty serious on signing him? Something's got to be there. I think it's because his his medical check did not go through the best. I mean, he got released from Jacksonville for a reason. There's got to be something there. I would expect there's some issues. I would expect there some issues. Asada Burrito, sorry, no, for the poor grammar. I was driving and trying to text, brother. I can't come up with words half the time. Read my texts, they're awful. It's always good, dude. It's always good. Alexander, could Ayuk become an option with his contract situation? I don't believe so. The Steelers, this is what I was told last year at the end of that. Last year at the end of that, the Steelers were considering names like Juju Smith-Schuster because they just had to get out of the Brandon Ayuk situation. They ran it down to nothing. They eventually got to a place where they were hoping, but it didn't happen. But at the end of it all, they knew how big of a risk attitude and character-wise Brandon Ayuk was. It seems to be getting worse. I think that they are moved on from that kind of stuff. I think they would run away from doing any of that. Maddie, how much do you think they're signing Rodgers for? I would imagine it's about $20 million, but it could be about 10. Could be about, I know the initial situation was, I was guessing, but my context clues kind of told me 20 million. And since then, when he dropped the 10, I became a little curious about if it could be 10, but I think it's going to be $20 million. That's what I think it's going to be. Or, 12 with incentives to get him to 20, something like that. Eli Noah, get a Zach Frazier jersey like I did. Dude is going to be a stud for a decade. Show the offensive line some love. Zach Frazier is my dude. Shout out. Congratulations to Zach on announcing him and his wife are having a baby. Super excited, or had a baby. Super excited about it. Shout out. He's a great dude, man. He's a great dude. I'm all about those big guys up front, brother. All about those big guys up front. Always. Always. All right. Here we go. Last Steelers jersey I bought was Chris Boswell. I made the right choice. That's where you go. Go get a kicker. Go get a kicker. Mark, now I think Khan is going to go hard on getting that wide receiver too, and I think it will be via trade. I'm still not discounting Olave from the Saints. I'll say this. I don't think I'd rule out Chris Olave either. I think things are going to change. I think the Saints are going to get a little bit desperate. I think they're going to understand the tough situation they're in for years to come. And they'll look at it with an understanding that, okay, we have to move on from some guys. And chances are Chris Olave is the one that they could get the most capital for of their big young names. And I think at that point, he becomes a real possibility for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's how I view Chris Olave. Do I think it's guaranteed or even a top 5 choice? No, but I do think that's going to hit the surface once again come training camp, the middle end of training camp. To be decided enigma, long awaited enigma, plot twist. Aaron Rodgers wasn't keeping the Steelers hostage. Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers kept the fans and the media hostage because they knew the whole time when he would sign. They didn't know, so I'll tell you this, and this is truth. They didn't know when he was going to sign. It was pretty confident that it was going to sign by minicamp, that they were pretty confident about it. He was pretty confident about it. Some of the media were pretty confident about it. I was pretty confident about it. It faded. I'm going to be honest with you. It faded for sure. Me and Kaboom were talking yesterday. He said, maybe in the next 24 hours. I said, no chance, bro. No chance. I was wrong. I'll admit that one. I was wrong. Me and him were supposed to be on Jim Wex's podcast 20 minutes ago. So I would have had a good time if we weren't doing this. But I do think that I don't think they knew for certain, but there was a very strong level of confidence throughout this that Aaron Rodgers was going to end up in Pittsburgh for sure. ND Joe, Noah, do you think he signed so he could have some say over who the next wide receiver he could be throwing to is? That's a great question. I would say yes and no. I don't think that's the reason he signed. I think it was strategically placed so that he didn't have to go to OTAs and avoid all of it. And now here he is. But I do think he's going to want some say at the wide receiver. I don't think it's going to be so much of, hey, go sign this, go do that. I think it's going to be more of, hey, do you like this guy? Do you think you could play well with this guy? Yeah, I think I could. Yeah, I think I could. Nah, I don't think I could. I think it'll be more of that. I don't think they'll give him a list and say, pick one. I think they'll be more so like, hey, what's your input on this? We're going to try to make a trade for him. And I would imagine Aaron's not sitting there trashing some guys unless they try to go get Mike Williams. Then it's over. New team slogan here. Darkness is coming. Hilarious. As we keep it trucking here. Would you give up a second-round pick for Terry McLaurin? I would, but I don't think financially the Pittsburgh Steelers could afford Terry McLaurin. I don't think they could come anywhere close. So it's going to be tough. They have almost no cap space right now. And when they get TJ, that opens up cap space, but only like $20 million, not enough. So my answer is no. I don't think that. I think I would. I don't think it's possible, though. Does this signing actually help the Steelers win a playoff game? Potentially. I can't predict if the Steelers are going to win a playoff game. I will say that of all their options, this is the best option that the Steelers have at winning multiple playoff games and being a contender. It might not work out at all, but it's their best option for sure. Stop talking about the Super Bowl. Cody Silva, do you have any info on the deal? 1 year, $10 million. I don't know the exact number. I do know it's a 1 year deal. Where it was about $20 million at one point, just guessing on context clues. It might be cheaper than that. I wouldn't be surprised if it's $10 million with incentives. I think that's how it's going to work. Hey, no, I hope you're well. Was wondering if now that he's signing will affect what we got for our wide receiver too. And do you think we talked about this? Yes, I think it's yes. I think it's yes, for sure. Carl Spackler. Okay, switch to fun. Have to choose one to change history. Troy Polamalu for Ed Reed. Trade Big Ben for Rodgers, or trade Hines Ward for Larry Fitzgerald. This is a tough one, but I think the only one where you actually there is hardcore evidence to say he is a better player, and I love this guy, so it stinks. But I love the guy that I'm switching him for, so it's okay. Is Hines Ward for Larry Fitzgerald. Hines Ward was the definition of a Steeler, and that would be brutal, but you're not trading Big Ben for Rodgers. You're definitely not trading Troy Polamalu for Ed Reed. Hines Ward for Larry Fitzgerald, I think Larry Fitzgerald might be top 5 wide receiver all time, depending on who you ask, so that would be my only argument there. And that's a tough one. That's, what you're doing there. That was a tough one. To be decided enigma. Do we still look like fools for waiting this long? As of today, yes. The Steelers look like fools today, but they won't look like fools by training camp. That's the thing. That's what Aaron Rodgers needed to avoid. If he signed today, which he did, or I guess tomorrow morning, which he's going to, the Steelers are in the clear. By the time training camp rolls around, nobody cares anymore. It's been 2 months of Aaron Rodgers on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Plenty to talk about. No off-season quiet time of spewing up nonsense. Straight boring. That's what we're headed into. And Aaron Rodgers is on the right side of that, which is going to calm all of that narrative. So today, yeah, I think so. I think the way that all this went down, they looked ridiculous. But come training camp, there will be no noise. The noise will be gone. And if they lose a bunch of games, you'll bring up the noise, but there'll be no argument there. There'll be no, he missed OTAs and he took forever to sign. Who cares? He was at minicamp. He showed up when everybody else needed to show up. So I think today, maybe. I don't know when, though. Dion, do you think there will be a press conference tomorrow around the signing? And if so, will you be there? If there is one tomorrow, I will not be there because I'll be at my brother's wedding, which would stink. Shout out to Aaron, by the way, for doing this before Saturday. My guy. I would guess it's next week. I would guess next week, Tuesday, is when we talk to him. That would be my guess. Everybody's there. It just makes a lot of sense. With that, first thing you're asking Aaron Rodgers, I've got a couple of them. The biggest one I'm gonna toss out there, though, is when they approached you about this whole situation, how comfortable were you knowing that you were coming to a situation where they didn't view you as the savior, but they viewed you as a person, a player that they really truly think helps this organization stay at the level they want to be at. That's what I'm going to view, because I want to know Aaron's side of the Steelers not looking at him as like this big, giant, godly figure that's going to help them, and more so just like, well, we need a quarterback and you're a quarterback, so we're gonna make that happen. Cody Silva, George Pickens crying somewhere now. I got asked today, how you feeling about GP? I don't know. I don't know. I try not to think about it. Try not to think about it. I gifted a sub. Why am I still getting ads? Ask YouTube. Don't ask me. Ask YouTube, not me. Nate Moore, didn't Terry Bradshaw trash Aaron Rodgers before this? Yes, he did, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good. Wow, so many people just not happy. Not happy. And then somebody bought an Aaron Rodgers jersey. Cracking, man. Or a Juju Smith-Schuster jersey. Yikes. Big yikes. Big yikes. Stephen Cornfield still buying a Rudolph jersey. He's earned it. Mason Rudolph's going to be known as one of the best backup quarterbacks the Steelers have had. So, shout out. Shout out to Mason Rudolph. I love Mason Rudolph as a person. I think he's a super genuine, nice human being. I think he's a professional. And I'm talking Mason Rudolph in the building. I could care less about what he's attending outside or what he's doing here or what he's... I could care less. Honestly, could care less. In the facility, he's a great dude. Easy to talk to, super nice to everybody. Always has something to say. Always has a smile on his face. Professional. I'm a big fan of Mason Rudolph, man. Nate, do you get a feeling of relief now that Aaron is signing and you could stop talking about him soon? Look at yes and no. Yes and no. Like, I'm excited, but it's the fun we had on the way, the friends we made along the journey for sure. And I'll tell you this. When it comes to Aaron Rodgers and everything we've gone through, it's been fun to understand it and try to relay it to you guys. That's been the most fun part, is to get phone calls, make phone calls, talk to people through text, stay up late to have conversations, get the inside scoop. I mean, I would get calls at 6 a.m. like, hey, what's up? Like, I'm not even awake yet. And it was fun the entire time to be able to bring that to you guys, so that was cool. I appreciated that one. Nick Belsky, I remember when I thought this would happen when I was still on the show. I don't know if you were on earlier, but I showed your text to everybody. So shout out our boy over here. Probably talking about it too. So go hit that channel and subscribe. It's been a journey, my friend. It's been a journey. Although I will say, somehow I knew it was going to happen on a day where I'd be on this podcast alone. I couldn't tell you. And we'll finish it off with this one. Shout out to our boy Jacob. ND Joe. Jacob must be losing his mind while he's sitting on an airplane somewhere over the Atlantic. Here's the thing. It is crazy to think that right now, Jake has zero idea that Aaron Rodgers is a Pittsburgh Steeler and probably won't know for hours. That's nuts. I'm excited to be the first one to tell him. And I might send him this little clip. And that's how we're going to go out. That's how it's going to happen. That's how it's going to happen. All right. With that said, guys, I think that's everything when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the signing, and the information that we have today. There will be more to come for sure. But for right now, I'm heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcast. And as always, find all of our work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. With that said, enjoy an Aaron Rodgers filled day in the Berg. I'll be back tomorrow morning. Peace.